Lovely. Should we do it? Let's do it. Are you filming? Yep. Lovely. Hello, Internet. So excited. Hello. Welcome to the Winamp Imperative. My name is Yoz Graham, also known as yozyos.com or at Yoz, or just look up Yoz on anything because it's a nice short name and nobody takes it, so you can normally find me on anything. I am here to talk about Winamp, which is a wonderful piece of software that was created in 1997 for the playing of MP3s. And even though I've been on Mac OS as a Mac user for 6 years now, I'm still desperate for something like Winamp on the Mac. And Winamp is the one piece of software that, more than any other, reflects the changing structure of the music industry. The history of Winamp is the history of music. It's also a vital piece of software in history because it almost single-handedly created a whole new genre of software. Things like Windows Media Player with the visualizations and iTunes didn't exist before Winamp. And after Winamp came along, they started copying all the features and everything else. But there's one overall statement that I want to make with this talk, and it's this. Winamp is more than a piece of music playing software. Winamp is music. You're going to need to bear with me on this one. So let's have a story about a band, small indie band in Arizona, in the middle of nowhere, that suddenly gets pretty popular doing all kinds of music that they love, and it turns out everybody else loves it as well. So they get really popular, and they sell out to a major label, which knows that there's something important in this new MP3 malarkey, but not entirely sure what. So the band settles in and starts working the way they want to work and doing, nifty things that seem like good ideas at the time, but immediately comes into conflict with the major label, which won't let them do the kinds of things that they want to do. And so they kind of go rogue on them and then leak a bunch of half-finished demos without permission. And this causes major clashes between the anarchist upstarts on the one hand and the big money guys who just don't understand on the other. And then there's the difficult third album. And ever since then, they can't really shake the reputation that, they were revolutionary at the time, but now all the key members have moved on to other things. And they're an ancient institution, a relic of a world that has since gone. And the world has kind of moved on since then. So let me rewind that and say it in a way that actually makes sense. This is Justin Frankel. He was born in Arizona in 1978. He got a 3.9 GPA from his school and went to the University of Utah to do computer science. He started in 1996, and then he quit after a couple of quarters to start his own software company and write software. Here is Nullsoft as it was at the time. And the first thing they released was Winamp, which was a piece of MP3 playing software for Windows, and that is mainly what this talk is about. There had been some MP3 players for Windows before, but they were all pretty terrible. And Winamp came along, and it was the first piece of MP3 software that people actually enjoyed using. And it didn't just work well, but it had character. And the character is the most important thing in this talk, and we will get back to that shortly. But the key thing you need to know is that Winamp was so good at what it did and so successful that by 1998 it had been downloaded 15 million times. And bear in mind that most of the world was not on the internet then, so 15 million was still quite a large number. The thing is, Winamp was not the only thing that Nullsoft created. They also came up with a mechanism for broadcasting MP3s over the internet. Now, at the time, music streaming, there wasn't really that much of it being done. The main competitor at the time was Real Audio, if anybody remembers Real Audio. And the thing about Shoutcast is that it is ludicrously simple compared to Real Audio. Real Audio had its own codec, it had its own producers and different things, automatic rate limiting. Fuck it. Shoutcast just said, we're going to open an HTTP connection and shove MP3 data down it. And if you can catch up with it, it's great. And if you can't, you're kind of stuffed. And it turns out that it works remarkably well, and it's still incredibly popular. By June 2011, there were, according to Wikipedia, about 45,000 active Shoutcast stations on the internet. And at any one time, there were up to 900,000 people concurrently listening to it. So it's still very popular and effective. But going back to 1998-99, America Online purchased Nullsoft and another company called Spinner.com. They did so for a total of $400 million. of which about 60 million went to Justin Frankel, but it went in the form of AOL stock. So let's hope that he cashed out fairly quickly. The Spinner was another company, as I said, they purchased at the same time. They ended up all in the same office in San Francisco, and there was an immediate problem there because Spinner was a kind of online music playing radio station thing. It was kind of similar to a combination of Slacker and Pandora and Spotify and that kind of thing, only not quite as good, and that's why they're not around anymore. But Spinner were kind of big money suits mainly, and Nullsoft weren't. They were kind of rogue hackers, and so they set up their own kind of enclosure in the middle of this San Francisco office where they could work and just not be bothered by anybody else. I mean, they actually put netting over it so they wouldn't be bothered, right? And then what they decided to do, they decided they really hated AOL. And so they decided to start fucking up stuff with AOL as quickly as possible. So one of the things they came out with, for example, was Gnutella, which was a P2P music sharing app. Hands up if you know about Gnutella and kind of how it works.